Welcome to Education Plus, your podcast for education sector. We will be meeting with different types of individuals and pioneers in education, from higher education, early learning, K-12, private sector, to learn from their experiences, to learn from their adventures, their challenges, and their contribution to the education sector. Today we had with us Mr. Kunal Kewalram from Quality Education School at Education Plus podcast. And he shared his experience, his passion towards learning, the values that they uphold, and the legacy, the importance of leaving a legacy behind. So it was an enjoyable session, and we hope you enjoyed it as well. Good morning, Mr. Kunal. How are you today?
Good, Ms. Rima.
Thank you for joining us in Education Plus podcast. And I'm going to give you a chance to introduce yourself.
So I'm Kunal Kewalram from Kewalram family. We are in Bahrain for the last 100 plus years. My family has been in textiles, electronics, we're in real estate, gold, and about 25 years ago, we started a school as well. My family partnered up with a couple of family friends and we opened a small school, couple of villas in Bahrain, 2 villas, expanded to 4, moved on forward to 6 villas. Now we have a whole campus, and working with the D3 team, now we're building a new school as well. So thank you for having me, and thank you for supporting us.
That's QES, right? You didn't say the name of the school, but that's Quality Education School.
Yes.
Wonderful, wonderful. So tell me a little bit about, your family generations ago started, education, entered the education sector, as you mentioned. What fueled your passion to enter the sector?
So it does have a bit to do with the fact that my grandfather always wanted a school, and it was his vision to build a proper school, give back to the community, and kind of build children to grow into the world, nurture children, and kind of build values into them. And this kind of was always my passion as well, following that my grandfather had a dream. I wanted to complete this dream. And since I finished university, I've been back in Bahrain in the family business. I've been pestering my dad and my uncles, like, let's move forward, let's move forward. I want to invest some money into a new project. Yeah. Let's move forward with the school.
Great, great. And let's talk a little bit about school, about the school environment, the core values that go along in schools. As we all know, every school has to have its own mission. Yet the founders of your school had that. They had a vision that they wanted to apply in Bahrain. What do you feel are the most important core values that are set in your school right now?
So for us, ideally, if you look at the partners, it's more of a family-run school. Mm-hmm. So it's always been more of a let's build values such as trust, positive mindset, caring kind of personalities, and they always wanted to instill these values which are building people that are going out into the world and representing us at the end of the day, Mm-hmm. Like it's a graduate from our school, let them have these values that are accepted in society, and they're kind of really It builds a person in the positive direction, in the right direction,
Yeah.
Having a good characteristic such as being a caring person, being a considerate person, trustworthiness, honesty. These are basic values that we are putting into our children since day one.
Shaping personalities
exactly.
At the end of the day. Very good. And do you think values need to be set by the founders and then everybody needs to fit into this box, or do you think that they need to grow organically within a school, like the school itself, the community at the school shape the personality of those values, or do you think it could be a combination of both?
So ideally it does come down to a combination of both. Obviously as the founders, they have their values which have come in from the past. Back in the day things were a lot different. As we move forward, we need to adapt to the new changes. Society is moving forward with the influence of teachers, our management team. There's always a couple of things that are going to be changing here and there. And the values like adapting to a new classroom, kind of a modern classroom touch, adapting to the way society is changing. Obviously, generationally, it is going to keep evolving year on year. It's never going to kind of stick by the core, The core will always be there, but it'll always keep developing.
But you allow the flexibility of the organic growth of those values. Very good. And do you think, what about the legacy that you want to keep? Because values are very much embedded in the long-term legacy that you want to leave at the school, like the vision of how these values are going to organically grow, but they're also going to be leaving a specific brand, a specific message behind.
I mean, ideally, when it comes down to a legacy, a school which is linked to our name, we always want to have graduates that are representing us and kind of stand out, you know, like Bahrain's a small country, everyone's aware of everyone, and it's nice to know that we are able to kind of nurture kids at this age, guide them to some aspect. Like, of course, there's always going to be limitations with how much we can actually guide them, but we do have a big influence in their daily lives, and it kind of shapes them moving forward to where they're heading.
Yeah,
it kind of really like, it's a legacy that you don't want to leave something with where a person's thinking like, okay, is this the right school? Is this the right family? You know, you always want people thinking like, yeah, this is the right direction. These guys have a clear vision. They have a pure mind. Like, it should always be like a straightforward mindset.
Very good. And do you think like right now with all the changes that are happening in education, that is kind of impacting sometimes the core values and the mission, like the integration of technology, like AI, you know? Do you think AI somehow is going to be used to its fullest potential within the education sector, or do you feel like there's still time for it to grow to become that?
I mean,
especially, I mean, we're talking K to 12, you know, at the end of the day.
Since I've been in school, tech has become a bigger player in a daily classroom life with computers, smart boards, whatever you say, you know, and it's always going to keep evolving. It's about how a student kind of uses the technology, what does he really pull out of the technology, you know, like is he going to look at the negatives of it? Like if you're doing research, there's a lot of things like AI, which are actually writing essays for you nowadays, or, you know, you're getting everything done, but it comes down to how much do you actually want AI to influence you? Do you want to take the positives out of it and work around it, or do you want to like just go online, look at what's available? It comes down to an individual on how forward-minded, how positive thinking you actually are. It's literally, today's world is a tech-driven classroom. You got to use a holistic development. It's not just one thing or the other. You know, it's a combination of multiple things that builds a classroom.
True. I mean, like, for example, right now, what's happening also with AI, other than being a knowledge hub where individuals, young people go to ask questions and get some feedback and research and all of that, it's becoming more of a personalized approach as well. So a lot of teenagers and young people are kind of finding comfort as well with AI. So they're going to them for some feelings reassurances and some personality issues that they could be facing, or behavioral issues. And somehow AI is also adapting to become also a more personalized, more interpersonal in the reply to these type of.
But I mean, if you look at it, if you consider it this way, the traditional school method only focused on curriculum education. Moving forward, we have kind of changed the way we are teaching in school as well. You kind of look at the emotional intelligence of a child, you focus on the way they're developing in physical activities, you focus on, there's multiple aspects you look at, you know, and the emotional aspect is really a big thing nowadays in any school, whether you're a KG kid or you're in year 12, year 13. It's a big player in the way teachers are talking to you, the way you are kind of...
The social emotional learning aspect.
The communication is key, you know, and with AI, it's kind of like you have to adapt to the new method of moving forward, but you also have to kind of balance things out. The traditional ways have worked for many years. These are the upcoming ways. There has to be a balance in kind of making things work. Like, speaking of AI, there's a lot of scams, deep fakes. These are the negatives of AI. I think we look at the positives of AI, which is the research we can get done, the technologies, like...
And take into consideration the safeguarding aspect as well, because they're still young. I mean, they're, the students that we're catering, our target audience is young and requires all the policies that would help safeguard them as well. So definitely that's a good reflection on how you want to allow AI to be part of your community, but at the same time protect the rights of the children and guide them through
Yeah.
the use of the AI. This is what I'm gathering from you, that
Correct.
have a balance of utilizing the positive impact that AI can bring
Of
into
course.
education. Very good. And what do you think about how we look at the personalities and the values of the school in particular moving forward? Like, I know you mentioned about legacy, and it's something you want to withhold and cherish and make sure that it is implemented across multiple years. But when it comes to shaping personalities beyond academics, like the students, the role model student, in your opinion, what would those characteristics be?
I mean, ideally, is there really a role model student, or do you got to look at it as an individual who's got talents in sports, or an individual who's talented in academics, or an individual in any extracurricular activities? Ideally, you want a child to develop in multiple aspects. You cannot just, as a child, luckily for me, I was able to do a bit of sports, had my Kumon, I had my educational kind of activities going on as well. And I also was pushed into music, the arts, all of these kind of things. You really need a child in today's generation to be focused on multiple things. Growing up, it's essential that a child is kind of trying new things out, do you want to play football today? Do you want to go for bowling? Try these activities. Maybe he prefers the arts, maybe he prefers something else. But an ideal student has to experiment, has to try things out. Even for subjects in an academic perspective, like, you may enjoy maths right now, but going forward, you're like, you know what, I don't want to focus on mathematics, etc. I want to focus more on the arts part of life. And only when you're young enough to try a variety of things, you can actually know what you want to do going forward,
Yeah.
It really eases the kind of process.
Have multiple types of experiences.
Exactly.
And then determine for yourself what do you think is going to be the best fit for you.
Exactly.
True. And do you think that between culture and the community that you're trying to build within the boundaries of your school and the vision and the mission of the school, do you think that it's important to allow students to experience their own culture along with host country culture, along with diversity?
I mean, it's essential that the traditional culture, especially the Bahraini culture, it's a beautiful culture,
Yes.
Like, there's no complaints about the people, about the way things are in the country. So it's very essential for a school to maintain that Bahraini traditional culture, considering we as a school are also catering to the Bahraini students.
Mm-hmm.
And for us, it's essential that we focus on traditions, Indian traditions, Bahraini tradition, mix a bit of that together,
Mm-hmm.
as well as an international school. We're trying to develop an international curriculum where you have multinationality students living in the same classroom. There's no requirement for hate, it's all about learning about other
Fostering
cultures.
diversity. and
Diversity, exactly.
Respect for all different types of backgrounds and cultures. That's great. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you, Ms. Rima.
It
Thank
was
you for
a
having
pleasure
us.
to learn more about QES and great innovations and cultural balance and core values, the legacy that you want to leave behind, and of course your new development coming up in September 2025. We look forward to the completion of that project, and we hope to see you again and hear more about your positive news.
Definitely.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Rima.
Thank you for watching this episode of Education Plus podcast, and always remember, where there's a will, there's a way.